Hi, I'm Lou with another episode of My Car Story. Occasionally we do a ride video, and today's going to be that day. So let's take a look at what we have. So with that being said, every now and then when you get a chance to ride in a special car, I think you should. And this one looks like that. Hank, good to see you. What did you bring today?
We have a 1997 Porsche Turbo S.
And this is the last air-cooled model.
This is the very end of Porsche's air-cooled production. Yeah, they'll never make another air-cooled car. This is the 993 body style, which was considered to be just an epic, car from Porsche. The Turbo S, they made like 183 of them, I think, in the world. So it's a very rare car. It puts out 426 horsepower.
Let's take a look at the engine component while we're talking about it.
You're not going to see a whole lot. Porsche's good at concealing their engines.
Okay.
This car has a few unusual features that very few of the other Turbo S's came with.
Go ahead, tell me about those.
So, well, in the interior, this car has the color matching sport seats, and that, for whatever reason, was not a popular option. I think it's pretty neat. The sport seats just have a leather cover on top of them. And then underneath the trunk area, there is a carbon fiber shock brace tower.
These back seats.
Yeah, so most of the cars that were built of the Turbos or the Turbo S's, they had the multiple way power seats, and these instead are the sports seats that were matching the body color of the car. This was one of the first cars, it was built in 1997. It was one of the first cars to actually use real carbon fiber details in various parts of the car, the dashboard, certainly the doors.
Well, we're going to see the dashboard real good when we get in it.
Right.
And let's, we've got the sunroof.
Yeah, did have some creature comforts for sure. Here's what I was going to show you. And again, this was not a very common option.
I like the not the common options.
So you see the shock brace. It goes from one side to the other, and it stiffens up the suspension, the front suspension.
Now, Hank, you've done something with the suspension. Speaking of that, what have you done here?
So it's interesting. When this car was brought to the U.S. market, because of the DOT, Department of Transportation requirements, the headlight height was measured to a certain spec that was higher than what they did in Europe. So the U.S. cars were actually imported at a much higher ride height. This car is stock. It's 100% stock, with the exception that I just recently put on a Bilstein PSS 10 suspension, which allows you to adjust the height, both front and rear, adjust the camber, and so forth, and do weighting adjustments, so you can compensate for the driver being in the driver's seat, and you can adjust the weight based upon the way the car is driven. It's a very sophisticated suspension system.
Let's jump in it. We're gonna work on the weighting system. All right.
We're gonna put Joey in the back.
Sure. It's got a nice sound to the doors.
Business CDW.
Don't need that.
No. I like how it said Porsche there.
Yeah. So, even the radio, there's a new radio you can get that has a GPS in it, which I think is pretty neat, but in my effort to keep the car stock.
Yeah. No, you don't want that.
No.
We can do GPS on phones.
Right. So, as I said, this is air-cooled, no radiator, so and this is all very analog. There's very little in the way of modern enhancements that we're all used to today. no traction control, no ride control, none of that. Now that said, it is a four-wheel drive car.
You know, I did not know that.
Yep.
How long have you had this one?
Since 1997.
Oh, you bought this new?
Technically, no. There was a guy who my dealer originally configured this car for, who had it for a very short period of time, put a couple thousand miles on it, and then I acquired it.
Oh, we've got an interesting speaker configuration there.
Well, yeah, that was really, that was something that all the old 911s did. They had, you know, these multi-way speakers. You have the little tweeter, the mid-range, the woofer, and in the back, on the back deck, you also have a multi-way speaker back there. So the sound system in the car, for being what it is pretty good. You know, in its day, you know, 1997, this car was considered pretty much of a supercar. Now we can roll up the windows and close the sunroof, and you could probably hear on your camera a little bit easier, but you know, what the heck.
Yeah, no, it's a summer day.
It's a beautiful day.
Yes.
And that's what this car is all about. You know, just going out feeling like you're driving.
I'm holding this camera exactly at my eye level. You don't see the front end, you just see road.
Right, well, some of that probably is because I've, you know, with the new suspension, the car is a bit lower than it used to be.
I mean, you can tell we feel like we're on rails. You're feeling the road, and yet it's comfortable. The seats hug you nicely.
Let's see if we can get out in front of these guys. One of the first cars to actually feature a 6-speed manual transmission. You know, when I was a kid in high school, having a 4 on the floor, a 4-speed, that was kind of a big deal. And then cars went to 5-speed transmissions. This car was built with a 6-speed transmission.
Of air when you get on it.
That's fun. The car handles really, really well.
We're gonna have some fun shift lanes with us. Oh yeah. Wonderful day. Car. Like the perfect day. Perfect day, perfect temperature, great ride. So, Hank, what drew you to this car? Just the fact that it was the last air-cooled?
No, that really had nothing to do with it. I had owned a couple of 964s. I had one in which I had C4 Cabriolets. I first had a 1990 and then I had a 1993. And I also had a handful of Ferraris that, you know, as beautiful as they were, they just weren't very reliable. And I finally got fed up with the Ferraris, and I basically sold my 964 and I sold the Ferrari, and I wanted something German built that would be fun to drive and reliable. And I settled on this car, which at the time I didn't even realize how special it was that, you know, here was this car that they only built a handful of. But once I got it and started to appreciate what it was that I had purchased, I was pretty proud of myself.
So now you're pinching yourself. You know, I'm going to jump out and let me have you drive right past me. I want to get people seeing this, because you can't really appreciate the sound. I mean, I think they can appreciate some of the acceleration, but not the sound. Just a moment to step out. And even the fact of like some of the leather on the.
Well, here, take a look at this. All these knobs, they're wrapped in leather. Exactly. They're hand wrapped in leather.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, always a pleasure having you on the channel. Thanks for sharing your awesome car.
My pleasure, Lou. Lots of fun, always.